Hey gang! This week we're looking at a not as good monster movie, but more monsterish than last week. It's called Zaat. Although fans of Mystery Science Theater probably know it better under its alternate title, Blood Waters of Dr. Z. This is one of those regional films, very low budget, filmed in under a month. How low budget? Nighttime scenes were lit by car headlights. That low budget. Anyway, we start out with the first 20 minutes is all voiceover by our mad scientist, Professor Leopold. And it's all just kind of meandering, really, as you watch him puttering around his little lab. And finally, we get to see what it is he's doing when he strips off, which I'm going to skip past, and dunks himself into a pool. Costume. But what exactly is he supposed to be?
Nothing at all like the catfish, but it's beautiful.
Sure, catfish. Why not? Well, Leopold has a 3-point plan. 1, he's going to be spreading his chemical into the waterways to mutate other catfish. 2, get revenge on the professors that ridiculed his ideas and got him fired. And 3, create a mate. While he's pumping his chemical into the water, the local sheriff has been getting calls about walking catfish, which was an actual phenomenon that happened. There are some breeds of catfish that can survive on land for short periods of time. So he calls the Florida State Wildlife Department, and Rex comes out to get samples and makes a disturbing discovery.
I thought you said that was a freshwater spring.
I did. Why? Something matter?
There sure is. There's an extremely high content of radioactive material.
Yeah, well, what does that mean?
In your language, pollution.
Sounds serious. Oh, the actor playing Rex, that is Paul Galloway. He would later appear in the blaxploitation possession film J.D.'s Revenge. Rex, concerned about this, calls in the organization INPIT. I think that's how it's called. Yes, INPIT. INPIT. Meanwhile, Professor Leopold has located his first candidate for Monster Bride. Well, an artiste. Nice choice. Well, with that out of the way, he then takes his first revenge against Professor Matson, who he finds fishing with his family. Overturning their boat, he not only takes out Matson, but the family too. He's ruthless. After this, we get the obligatory morgue scene.
What do you make that?
This is a little out of my line, you know. But that looks like a claw mark.
No, it couldn't be. How about a fish bite?
No, I don't think so. Look at the size of these marks.
Didn't they have a kind of scene like that in Jaws? You don't think they were ripping off this movie, do you?
Could be.
Nah, couldn't be. Anyway, we next move on to Leopold's next target, Ewing, who declined his request to do human experimentation. I don't know about his mutating the fish or getting his mate, but his revenge plot's going pretty good. Of course, with this second death, panic has set in. Reporters are hounding the sheriff, and he's wanting everybody to stay off the streets and locked in their homes. Luckily, IMPIT agents Walsh and Stevens arrive, and they give their theory on what this thing is.
On the surface, it looks like an animal, like a cat or an ape. But this man was badly stunned or burned by some chemical.
So?
So, it could be from the fish family.
What?
You know, I can't blame the sheriff if he's a little in disbelief. But as it's a horror film, we're going to have to accept this guy knows what he's talking about. Anyways, while they're discussing their options, Leopold goes on with his Phase 3 experiment and abducts the artist. Oh, that's disappointing.
Get used to disappointment.
Well, he doesn't. After trashing his lab, he goes out only to get caught in the net that got strung across one of the waterways by the IMPIT team, which he easily rips through and decides to get a little of his own back.
I've had worse.
I'd call that a draw. Anyway, after Walsh gets patched up, they take a look at the pictures that Rex took.
Even photographs ugly. See these spines just above the wrists? You can kill with those.
Seems Dr. Leopold has a thing for blondes, as he's obviously made his second choice, but he may have some competition in that area. That could be a problem for Walsh. Anyway, they have discovered there's this lab, and it may be the source of the radiation. Can you guess whose lab it is? I'm sure you can. Anyway, our intrepid fishman, having been wounded, heads over to a pharmacy to get some supplies. Now, while he's taking care of his medicinal supplies, the sheriff gets a call. See, everything's supposed to be locked down, but he runs into a band of hippies, it's the early 70s, and enjoys one of their folk tunes before taking him off to the station where they can all stay where it's somewhere safe. Speaking of people that should be inside but are not,
Henry, are you scared?
Nah, I don't believe in all that stuff. Why'd any monster want to come to this town anyway?
Come on.
To be a teenager with only one thing on your mind.
Sex.
Oh yeah, crawl through broken glass for that. And, well, I think we know what's going to happen here.
I've had worse.
Luckily, the girl's a brunette, so she gets left alone. Well, things are getting serious now. So the next morning, Walsh, who's now up and about, the sheriff and Rex, he starts trailing the creature due to the radiation signature he's been leaving behind. You know, sort of a trail. And while they're doing that, seems Leopold has that other thing on his mind again. So, he's got his next subject. Now, our intrepid heroes realize after a certain point they're heading to that lab. So they go back to their headquarters, where they find out they've been beaten to it. So he sends the sheriff and Rex overland while he's going to cut through the swamp in his swamp buggy. Or he'll just make his way on foot, which had an unforeseen circumstance as he gets bitten by a snake. That actually happened in real life, and they caught it on film. He grabbed the snake, threw it away, and the snake started heading back to him. And they decided to keep it. He was okay. In the film, he even shows how he knows how to handle snake bites. Well, while that's going on, the sheriff and Rex, they arrive at the lab and they find all that crazy stuff, so they know something's going on. And when Leopold arrives, well, he doesn't take kindly to trespassers. Well, Rex isn't exactly down for the count yet, because as Leopold, who's given Stevens the injections, prepares to dip her in the pool, Rex makes his move. Well, after finishing off Rex this time, he decides he's going to have to change things up a bit and grabs big canisters of his formula, which he's going to take to the ocean and he's going to finish his experiment out there. Or is it? Looks like he got him. Oh, looks like I spoke too soon. Although I think he might have died in the surf, but his chemical went into the water. Oh, and as for Stevens, well, that doesn't look too good either. Oh, uh, I guess he didn't know snake bites as well as I thought. Now, remember, the actor did not die from that bite. Anyway, that's how it ends. Standard downbeat ending for a rather okay echo horror film. Yeah, a lot of short on plot, a lot of filler, like the hippie song. The sheriff sits through the entire song instead of getting them all into safety. Lots of shots of people panicking, and then endless shots of the sheriff having to deal with the press and oh god, that search where they're tracking him with the Geiger counter. It goes on forever. So it's got a really good idea of a standard 40s 50s Mad Doctor kind of setup, and some interesting scenes. The whole thing of him breaking into the pharmacy was kind of interesting, and a little light on the attacks. Only had like I think 3 or 4, but you see a lot of him. And unfortunately, the costume's not that good, so it's a bit of a detriment. Better in the dark when he attacks the young couple. It's harder to see, but a lot of this is daylight. They actually had an actor, a guy who was like 7 feet tall, who played the monster in that outfit. Well, actually, he wasn't 7 feet tall, but with the costume, it looked 7 feet tall. And he had trouble seeing it. There's a lot of times where they had to cut because he would bump his head into branches and things. But he could swim, as you could see him swimming in some of the shots. And yet most of the actors in this were amateurs, or a lot of locals played the townspeople in some of the scenes where they're like panicking and the sheriff's trying to quell them. But I mean, it's very typical of a regionally made film, like the Milpitas Monster or The Dead Next Door. It's very low budget, and you don't always have the best actors available. But even so, this one's a little iffy. Kind of drags, unfortunately. But still, not a bad costume. One thing I really didn't like was the intercutting of during his attacks. It would cut to these shots of fish and sea turtles and other things. I guess to kind of do a correlation between the two. More distracting than anything. But yeah, there's really not much to say about this one. It's just an okay flick. Not really highly recommended, but it's got some moments in it. Please hit like, share, and subscribe, and stay after the credits for my favorite scene.